Turn it up, let it blast.
Hello, everyone. We are back this week for another episode of Ready, Set, Cheer alongside Brighton head coach Christina Wilson-Peacock. My name is Liles. This week we have a West Side Spotlight for you. We're going to talk about some of the big competitions that happened this week and one that we can look forward to on Friday. Coach, how you been?
Great. Thank you so much. We're in the thick of things with the season, but we're trucking along.
Alrighty, well, let's jump right into it. OK Gold happened on Tuesday. Division 2, we had Thornapple, Kellogg, Cedar Springs, and Canoa Hills. Thornapple Kellogg is ranked 6th right now. What happened at this competition?
Yeah, so TK has just been on an absolute roll. They were able to come out with the victory in their first competition. And then again, just this past week, they were able to come out and be the conference champions in the OK Gold. So I do know that they have increased immensely and they're doing such a great job out there on the west side in that OK Gold division.
What makes them so elite? I heard you say they've, gotten better. What is it that they've really improved at so far this season?
Yeah, I saw a clip of their round 3 and they are able to do some pretty amazing things and stand on one leg for a long time and a lot of times in that round 3. So they just seem like some really strong stunters, and I think that's carrying them really far this year.
LMCCOA invite was Saturday at Byron Center. The Division 1 teams here, Rochester, Granville, Heartland, and Hudsonville. This is supposed to be a west side of the state show. Rochester, again, we're talking about them, but how can you not? They're always up there, number 1. But number 2, Granville. What was it that made them so competitive this week?
Yeah, Granville had incredible scores in all 3 rounds. They're kind of hitting the ground running. They're starting to roll. They're really putting out some great performances. And, we can always expect that Granville is going to put up a great fight when it comes down to any competition that they're a part of. So, yeah, that LMCCOA invite is always a big one. A lot of teams, it does draw some of the East Side teams over to compete in the West, which really helps out when it comes down to state finals. You want to see that competition and be able to compete against teams from both sides of the state. So with LMCOA being so big and they offer scholarship opportunities, it really is the perfect time for some of those East Side teams to make their way west.
Do you feel that maybe it's a little more pressure going against somebody that's on the complete side of the state? You have really no idea what they can bring. Obviously in this case you do, just because Rochester is always so successful. But going up against somebody that you're not used to, is there more pressure there?
I don't know that there's necessarily more pressure, but it does bring about just like a new set of challenges, and it just makes you have to be on your A game, right? Because you want to get that practice competing against teams all over the state that you might end up seeing in the MHSAA tournament, whether that be at districts or regionals or state finals. So just kind of getting that experience of competing against them, kind of seeing, where your scores line up in comparison to theirs, even though, judging panels are very different. It really does provide a nice opportunity to just be prepared a little bit more heading into tournament play.
Absolutely. And I heard you mention that at this competition, they offer scholarships. Take me through that a little bit.
Yeah, there's a whole application process, and I know that there's a board that goes through and reviews all of the scholarship applications, and I know that they give away a large number, not just dollar amount, but a large number of those scholarships to the competitive cheer athletes, which is really nice.
And at that same competition, D2, Thornapple Kellogg again in Mason. I mentioned before, Thornapple Kellogg is ranked, but Mason only lost to them by 2 points. Can Mason make a run later in the competition?
Yeah, I think when it comes down to D2, you can never really count out Mason. They're always coming on strong. They have really solid round 1 typically, and you just can't ever count them out. Like I said, TK's kind of rolling, but they can't let up on that gas pedal just yet.
Absolutely. You never know, right? You never know.
Right.
So moving on to OK White Conference, a very competitive conference competition.
Yeah, Forest Hills Northern in Byron Center. It's funny because they are different divisions, but they are really competing hard. In their first OK White, Forest Hills Northern beat Byron Center by 1.5 points, which is a small margin. And then to even think that in number two, they lost by .06. Like Forest Hills Northern beat Byron Center by .06. Like that's how minuscule scores get in competitive cheer.
How, I mean, I couldn't imagine. You're coming in second by .06. How do you bounce back from that? I mean, that's not easy.
No, it is actually almost more heartbreaking to lose by such a small margin like that than if it were, any number of full points. So that .06 is like, okay, come on. But I mean, that's the nature of our sport. It just gets judged literally down to the tenths and hundredths of a point.
I feel like that's something we talk about every week is how close it really comes down to and really just what the judges are looking for day by day.
Yeah, for sure. You definitely have to go out there and impress. And when it's so tight and so close, it's really just kind of a coin toss, a toss up on who it's going to be.
That's cheerleading, right?
It
All right,
is.
moving on to the CAAC Red. Going in, I mean, it's going to be a competitive matchup. Give us a breakdown of what you think is going to happen.
Yeah, it's tonight. They're actually going to have their CAAC number two to kind of determine where things are going to fall in that conference. And Charlotte they're strong and they have been at the state finals for the past few years. So we know we're going to expect to see a pretty strong performance out of them. And, Mason has made state finals as well. Charlotte just really has just a little bit of a competitive edge, I think.
Do you think both of these teams could do well at state this year?
Absolutely, without a doubt.
I kind of knew you were going there, but just had to ask.
Yeah, of
Alrighty,
course.
moving on, Cascades. I mean, Michigan Center. They have had so much success in the past at state. Could we expect them to do well at McGurk in March?
Oh, yeah. Again, Michigan Center is another one of those teams. They have state finals experience. They know what it takes to get there. They know what it takes to be on top and stay on top. They have been defending state champions and they've won so many times. Like they get it. The coach gets it. She knows how to prepare them. They know what to expect. So I mean, I always have Michigan Center in the running every single year, no matter what.
Okay, Red is, I mean, talk about a competitive conference. Three competitive cheer squads going head to head: Granville, Jenison, and Hudsonville. What makes Granville so elite? I know we talked about them earlier, but what is really their strong suit here?
Yeah, Granville has that history behind them as well with the multiple state finals appearances, the multiple state champions, and their coach has been around, for a while. So she really knows how to prepare her teams and get them raring to go. And Granville, I've seen them this year. They have really strong round two tumbling. They have some really unique elements in round three. I think just kind of those wow factor things give them a little bit of an edge. But Jenison and Hudsonville, they're strong as well. Hudsonville is usually a finalist at finals, and then Jenison is always right there on the edge. It's only going to take one really great season from Jenison to kind of edge out Hudsonville to kind of make their name that they could be a state finalist, and this might just be the year.
I heard you mention, you have to be unique. You have to bring something new that the judges aren't expecting. How important is that, do you think, when it comes to scoring?
Yeah, you want that wow factor. So whatever you can do, have the judge's attention and make them say, oh gosh, like I would really like to see that again. That was so cool. That just kind of gives you, I mean, we talked about that .06 margin. If you have something creative, that could make up for such a small margin. That could be the difference maker.
So, real quick, before we wrap this up, I want to get your input on something. We're about a month away from state finals. It's time to start gearing up. Teams are really starting to get ready for the remainder of that season. What does that usually look like? I mean, is there added stress? Is there pressure? Or is everyone usually pretty chill?
Anytime you're making a run towards the playoffs, there's pressure that with it. You have teams that are in their stride and are rolling along. You have teams that are working on the mental aspect of the game because they've got the physical part put together, and then you have other teams that are just still trying to roll and pick apart the details and clean it all up. And
Yep.
it just kind of depends on the program. Everyone's kind of at a different place, but the preparation for it is always, let's just make sure that we've done everything we can up to this point to put ourselves in the best possible position.
Absolutely. Well, that is all we have for you this week. We will be back next week giving you updates and getting ready for the states. So be sure to follow State Champs and State Champs W on Twitter and Instagram. Thanks so much, everybody, and we'll see you next week.
Ready, Set, Cheer, presented by Lawrence Technological University. Visit ltuathletics.com and recruit yourself. Ready, Set, Cheer is also brought to you by the Michigan High School Athletic Association, promoting the value and values of educational athletics. The Michigan Army National Guard, a proud partner of the MHSAA. The Detroit Athletic Club Foundation's Athlete of the Year Awards. Applications being accepted now until March 6, 2023 for the male and female high school athletes of the year. Check out previous winners and download the application today at dacathleteoftheyear.com.